What's up everyone, it's JuicekiddJ here, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go over one of my favorite childhood games, Wizard101, as more people I know are starting to play. I'm just going to go over some of the tips that new players should take to make the game a lot more enjoyable. And like I tell everyone, I'm not a wizard, I'm the wizard. This is my game, and I'm going to show you how to get a little better at it. Alright, so the first thing I want to go over today is actually fizzling. Now, I want everybody to understand what fizzling is. So, every spell you cast has a percentage to cast successfully and to essentially fizzle. Now, if you look at the bottom left of the card, you will see a percentage there. And that percent is out of 100. And that is essentially the chance you have to successfully cast your spell. Now, the thing to understand is, in order to successfully cast spells all the time without fizzling, your character's accuracy stat needs to fill this gap between the chance for the card to successfully cast on its own. So for instance, since I have a 70% chance to successfully cast a spell without fizzling, my character needs to have at least a 30% chance of accuracy stat in order to successfully cast a spell without fizzling, because 70 plus 30 equals 100.
Wow.
Now this works retroactive for every percentage you increase. So if I have 10% accuracy, then I'll have an 80% chance to successfully cast, about 20% and whatnot. And for every school it's going to be different. So I know for fire you need at least a 25% chance, for ice and myth you need 20%, for death and balance you need 15% accuracy, and for life you need the least, which is only 10%. Now there are spells you can also cast to increase the accuracy, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, now while on the topic of fizzling, I want to go over my next step, which is to prioritize accuracy in gear. Now, unfortunately, since you don't unlock the first major dungeon until level 30, the best place you can unlock gear until that level would be at the bazaar, which is located here in Old Town. If I can pull up my map, Old Town, which is, you go from the commons in Wizard City through the shopping district to Old Town, and that's how you get here. Very hard to miss it. But essentially what you'll do is once you talk to the shop master here, you're going to choose the buy option, and it's going to show you a lot of gear. But what you want to do is, why was that so loud? What you want to do is, at the bottom right, you want to check mark the option for usable, and that will show you all the usable gear at your level. Now you can of course filter it between the level, meaning you can either go to the highest level available or the lowest. And I would highly recommend choosing the school, filtering your school, because that will give you the best stats. And then it will show you some of the gear here that will be best for your school. And like I said, you just want to go with whichever one will give you the best accuracy. Now the gear here can be quite pricey, which is why I'm going to go over the next thing, which is to quick sell items that you don't need. Now you have three options when it comes to selling items. You can either, one, sell it directly from your inventory, which I don't recommend. And if you do that, all you do is go to the backpack icon within your spell book, quick sell, and right here you can quick sell any items that you have. Now the reason I don't recommend that is because it gives you the least amount of gold. So what I would recommend instead, and what the second step is to actually sell your items in the bazaar. So when you're on the main screen, you can just click the sell tab, and here you can sell any gear that you want, or you can sell any other miscellaneous items you may have in your backpack. Now you may notice that some of the items here have no auction here, which is going to lead to the third place. And the third place is going to be here, which is the hat shop in the shopping district, which is once again the connecting point between the commons and Old Town. So when you come in here, you just talk to the woman here, and you have the sell option, and she will buy any piece of gear, well, pretty much any. But the only thing is, I would recommend going to the bazaar first, because just like selling from your inventory, she will lowball you and not give you as much gold. The bazaar will always give you the most gold, so my recommendation is try to sell it in the bazaar first. Whatever you can't sell at the bazaar, come here and try to sell. And if it doesn't let you sell it here, then you can quick sell as a very last resort. Okay, the next thing I want to get into are treasure cards, which are in your actual spell deck. If you click up here at the top left, you'll have the icon for treasure cards. Now the main ones I want to get into are damage buff treasure cards and accuracy buff treasure cards, as these can be applied to your normal spells in order to enhance them. Essentially, I'm going to show you what it looks like in battle. Now these cards may be hard to obtain at a low level, so I'll explain ways to get them in the higher level. But essentially what you do is when you have a spell deck open, you just right click on this card you no longer need, and it'll choose this draw option right here. Now the first spell is just an accuracy increase spell. As you can see right here, it gives 25% accuracy. So when I apply it to this card, as you can see, it went from a 75% chance for me to cast to a 100% chance. And the next one will be the damage buff one. Now monstrous is the highest form of a damage buff treasure card you can get, so this is the only one you'll be able to use until you can train the actual spells. But as you can see, it gives 175 damage increase to any spell I cast. So when I apply this to my card, it goes from a 300 damage to almost 500 damage. It allows you to cast. Now this is going to be crucial in the lower levels because you are going to need that increase in damage to make up for the lack of damage in your gear. And like I mentioned earlier, the only way to actually obtain these treasure cards are going to be in the higher up worlds. Now occasionally they may be in the bazaar, the place where I bought the gear at, but it is very rare. But if anything, if you know a high level wizard, or if you find someone that may be high level, just ask them if they can share some either monstrous treasure cards with you or extraordinary. I wouldn't really worry about the accuracy treasure cards too much, just because the gear is going to make up for that. But definitely the damage ones are something that I would recommend looking into. Okay, the next tip I want to give is don't do any side quests. Now the game has changed. It used to be that when you reach a certain level, you can unlock dungeons and whatnot. But now it's more progressive to the storyline, meaning you have to be in a certain point in the story in order to unlock higher level dungeons and higher level worlds and whatnot. Therefore, I wouldn't recommend doing side quests because they're not going to give you much XP and they're not really going to benefit for you to complete the story. So I would just press along with the main story as normal and just avoid doing any side quests. Now there is an exception to one of the side quests, and that would be the Prospector Z quest, because they can give you training points, which is the next thing I want to get into. I'm going to see if I can find one of the quest examples. So as you can see right here, this is a quest example of a training points quest. And what training points essentially are, they allow you to train into spells that are not from your native school. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So as you can see right here, I'm naturally a fire wizard, but if I want to train into a school like death, it does require training points, as you see right here, and your training points are located at the bottom. Now there are many ways to get training points. I know once you get into the higher up worlds, they become a lot easier to obtain, but if I'm correct, every 5 levels you obtain a training point, and it may change depending on what level you are, but that's the rule of thumb right there. And like I mentioned, those quests that Prospector Z gives in every world, he'll give you like something where you can like collect items, and he'll give you a training point right here. Now upon training, one of the biggest things I want to stress is don't train into a secondary school. Now there's 2 reasons for that. The first one being your stats will reflect your school. So for instance here, as you can see, I primarily focus my stats into my fire school. If I try to train like secondary school, like let's say myth or something, then I would have to basically equip gear that would complement both schools, and then that will alter itself. It would like counteract it, almost contradict it, because you'll have to be focused on getting accuracy in both schools, damage in both schools, and you won't maximize your potential in your actual school, or native school I should say. And another thing, your power pips do not work with any school except for yours, unless you buy what's known as a mastery amulet, like these right here. As you can see, it allows you to use power pips with a different school. And if you don't know what a power pip is, it essentially is a 2-for-1 pip. It's a little golden pip, and it basically gives you 2 pips for the amount of 1. But the cost of the amulets are very pricey, so that's why I don't recommend training into it just yet. Once you get into the higher level worlds, it becomes a lot easier to train into a secondary school, and then that's when you can take advantage if you want to. Okay, now the next thing I want to get into is actually crafting. Now crafting is essential, especially when you get into the higher worlds, and you can start crafting as low as level 5. Now crafting can be used to craft gear as well as spells that will help you a lot when you start to really get into the questing. As you can see right here, I have a card crafting station, and one of the spells that I highly recommend on death is Deer Knight. And you can craft these spells once you get the required materials and reach a certain level. Now I can't remember the exact ranking or levels for crafting in order to get spells, but I know that you have to do most of the crafting spells in the worlds, and each world, well almost every world, has its own specific crafting quest. so I would highly recommend on getting on it very early. Okay, another key thing when you're starting out questing is the team up option. Now whenever you're about to enter a dungeon and you're on a sigil like this, at the very bottom you'll see an option for team up. Then what this essentially does is anyone who's currently on this dungeon or has completed it in the past, they will see this signal sent out and they'll be able to help you out whenever you're on a particular dungeon in case you may need help or get stuck. And like I said, all you do is just click the team up option. I normally don't change these and I just press team up. Now I don't actually want to get into it, but as you can see, there are people there that are in the team up option. And another place you can go to is right here in Old Town. This is the actual team up kiosk right here. And when you click on this, it lets you know of everyone who needs help in a specific dungeon. And if you're on that dungeon or have completed it and just want to help people, you're able to go right here to view that menu. All right, we're getting to some of the last tips right here. Now another thing I want to talk about is pet training. Now pets are very essential when it comes to your character's overall stats because they can help boost them. As you can see, my pet right here gives me damage and resist, and this is crucial especially when you get into the higher up roles, as you will need more damage and more resistance to be able to complete quests. Now ever since 2018, they've added this option where you can use the hatchmaking kiosk, where if you don't have anyone with you or you don't know anyone who can help you with hatching a pet, you can just go here and browse pets and it will show you every pet available, and you'll be able to hatch into whatever pet spells, or I'm sorry, pet traits you want. Now the hatchmaker kiosk can be quite pricey because you have to pay for the cost of both pets. So your pet will be 50,000 gold and the next other pet will be 50,000 gold, so that may come up to 100,000. So that may be difficult to get around to in the beginning, but if you do know someone that has the pet you want and is willing to hatch with you, you can go to the hatchmaking station, which is inside the kiosk, or I'm sorry, which is inside the pet training grounds, and you can enter right here. Or if you already have a pet that you want the stats for and just want to duplicate it, you can use the self-made kiosk right here. Now in order to actually level up your pet, choose one of these pet games right here, and if you get to a high enough level you can just skip the game. But after you complete the game, it'll give you the option to feed your pet one of the snacks. Now the best way to obtain snacks are going to be through gardening, and that's a little bonus I'm going to throw in here. And the last tip is going to be gardening, and this can be done only in your home. Essentially what you'll do is similar to crafting, you have to earn ranks in gardening to unlock certain plants. And what you'll do is when you obtain the plant that you want, you just plant it into a pot. It goes more into it, like you look up a gardening video. Now that's all the tips for today. There's still plenty more, but it's a lot to digest. So if you have any questions, of course feel free to leave a comment. And like I tell everyone, you know, this is my game, so if you ever have any like questions or dare to challenge me in my game, I'm always open. But it's been JuicekiddJ, y'all. I appreciate all y'all for viewing the video. Hope you found it useful. If you did, then be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next part. Take it easy. Peace.